They sent invitations to everyone in the family, except me, said I wouldn't fit the theme. But they forgot I raised the woman who raised the bride. And when I walked into that wedding, I walked in like I owned the place, because truth is I did. Before I tell y'all what happened when I showed up uninvited and turned their perfect little day upside down, tell me, sugar, where you watching from? 'Cause sometimes you sit in your old chair, look at them smiling faces on invitations that ain't got your name on it, and you start thinking maybe you did something wrong. Maybe you're the problem. But let me tell you something I had to learn the hard way. It ain't always you. Sometimes folks just get too big for their britches, and forget who held them up when they was down. And if you ever been left out, made to feel small in a room you built with your own 2 hands, you better believe you ain't the only one. So if this story cuts deep into places you've been scared to talk about, don't keep it inside, sugar. Tell me in the comments. Tell me in an email, 'cause sometimes the hardest truths are the ones we hide from ourselves. But when you speak it, when you let it out, you find out you ain't as alone as you thought. And maybe, just maybe, we can hold each other up the way our own kin forgot to. Name's Mabel Johnson. I'm 68 years old, been walking this earth a long time. Long enough to know folks will use you up like an old dish rag and throw you out when they think you ain't shiny no more. I raised 3 kids on my back in a worn-out pair of shoes, worked double shifts at the diner, cleaned other folks' houses while mine sat cold and empty, went without so they could have shoes, books, birthdays. I've been a single mother since my husband walked out when my youngest, Charlene, was barely 5, and Lord knows I did everything for that girl. Gave her the best of me, stood by her when nobody else would, wiped her tears when she thought she couldn't carry on. And when she had Jessica, my granddaughter, I stepped in, raised her too when Charlene is out chasing dreams and bad men. Jessica was my heart. I watched her take her first steps, packed her lunches, sat in them cold bleachers cheering her on. But somewhere along the line they got too fancy for me. Charlene married Gregory, a man with a slick smile and cold eyes, and they started acting like my old house, my old ways, my old self didn't fit into the life they was building. I could feel them pulling away little by little, like a slow leak in a tire, till one day they made it clear, without saying a word, I wasn't part of the picture no more. And the hardest part, I never saw it coming, 'cause I was too busy holding them up to notice they was stepping over me. And sugar, I was the porch they all stood on, until they decided they didn't need the porch no more. It was a Sunday afternoon, I remember clear as day, the kind of day where the sun suns, but your heart feels cold. I was sitting on my porch drinking sweet tea, waiting on the mailman like I always do, thinking maybe today's the day I get that wedding invitation I heard him whispering about. But the mail came and there was nothing. No card, nothing with my name on it. And it wasn't till my neighbor Miss Louise came over smiling, holding her fancy envelope in her hand, saying, "Ain't you proud, Miss Mabel, your granddaughter's getting married in that big church downtown?" But it hit me like a punch in the gut, 'cause I didn't even know they set a date. I smiled and nodded, but inside, I was breaking in ways I can't explain. Later that night, I opened up my Facebook and there they was, all smiles, showing off them engagement photos, tagging everybody but me, the flowers, the dress, the venue, all planned out. And not once did they mention my name, like I was already gone, like I never existed. And I swear, sugar, sitting there in my old house watching them plan a life I built with my sacrifices, it felt like they dug my name right out the family tree and left the hole empty. The air in that house turned heavier, smelled of old memories and rejection, and the sound of their laughter in them videos. It wasn't mine, no more. It was like I was watching strangers dance on the grave of everything I gave them. I tried to tell myself maybe it was a mistake, maybe the invite got lost, maybe they was planning a surprise. But deep down, sugar, I knew better. So I picked up that old phone with hands shaking and called Charlene, my own daughter, the one I carried for 9 months and carried longer in my heart. And when she answered, her voice was sweet, but cold, like she rehearsed it, like she knew what was coming. All she said was, "Mama, we just thought maybe it's best you sit this one out. You know, the theme's a little upscale, and we don't want no awkwardness." And I sat there holding that phone, listening to my own blood tell me I wasn't good enough to sit in a room I paid for with years of my life. I wiped their noses when they was sick, stayed up all night when they had fevers, paid their rent when they couldn't, put food on their table when their mouths was too proud to ask. And now they telling me I don't fit the theme. I hung up that phone and sat in that old chair. And let me tell you, the anger that boiled in me wasn't the kind that makes you scream. It was the kind that sits heavy in your bones. Quiet. I started thinking back to all them birthdays I baked cakes for. Them school plays where I was the only one in the crowd clapping, them Christmas mornings where I stayed up all night wrapping gifts so they could smile. And now they acting like I'm a stranger, like I'm an embarrassment. They want to hide away like old shoes in a closet. And that sugar, that's a kind of pain no doctor can patch up. It's a pain only a mama knows, when her child throws her away like she don't matter no more. I sat in that lonely house for days. Sugar. Not answering no call, not opening no curtains. Just me and my thoughts. Thinking maybe I really didn't belong no more. Maybe they was right. Maybe the old ways, the old stories, the old woman they called mama wasn't part of their shiny new world. But then, like a whisper in the dark, my phone lit up one night. And it was Lisa, Jessica's younger sister. The one who always sat on my porch eating my peach cobbler and listening to my stories. And that girl, she sent me a message that broke my heart all over again, but also lit a fire I thought was gone. She said, "Grandma, you ain't gonna believe what they sayin' about you at that rehearsal dinner. They laughing, telling folks you old-fashioned, saying you'd embarrass them if you showed up." And that right there, sugar, that cut deeper than any knife. 'Cause it ain't just that they left me out. It's that they was sitting around tables. I set for them using my name like a joke. And Lisa, bless her heart, she said, "Grandma, you ain't invisible, you ain't a ghost. You still here and you still the one who made this family what it is. Don't you let them write you out the picture like you nothing. Go remind them who you are." And hearing them words from that girl, the one they also tried to shut down 'cause she speaks her mind, it gave me back something I forgot I had. My fight, my pride, my backbone. And that's when I knew. Sugar. I wasn't gonna sit in no dark house feeling sorry for myself. I was gonna show up and make them remember who built that table they was eating at. That night I sat in front of that old cracked mirror in my bedroom. The same mirror I used to fix Charlene's little dresses in, the same mirror that's seen me cry more tears than I can count. And I looked at myself, really looked, and what I saw wasn't some weak old woman like they tried to make me feel. I saw Mabel Johnson, the woman who raised 3 kids on nothing but grit and prayers. And my hands was shaking, but not from fear. From the kind of fire that comes when you realize they've been playing you small for too long. I pulled out my Sunday best, the one I'd been saving for when they put me in the ground. But I thought, no ma'am, they gonna see me alive and breathing. I fixed my hair the way my late husband used to love. Sprayed on that perfume that smells like power. And the next day I walked myself into the nicest boutique in town. A place I ain't never stepped foot in 'cause I always thought it wasn't for folks like me. But that day I walked in like I owned the place, and I told that girl behind the counter, "Honey, gimme the dress that makes a ghost feel like royalty." And when she looked at me sideways, I stared right back like I dared her to tell me I didn't belong. I bought that dress with the same hands that washed their clothes, cooked their meals, wiped their tears. And when I walked out that store, sugar, I wasn't invisible no more. I was Mabel Johnson. And I was ready to walk into that wedding and make him remember the woman they tried to erase. The day of the wedding came, sugar. And while they was all expecting me to be sitting at home crying in my rocking chair, I slipped on that dress, painted my lips red like I used to back in my younger days, and I walked into that church uninvited, no family by my side, no arm to lean on, just standing tall in a bold red dress that screamed louder than any words I could have said. And when I pushed them big fancy doors open, the whole room went quiet like they saw a ghost. Heads turned, whispers started floating through the air like smoke. Folks clutching their pear, wondering what I was doing there. Gregory, with his slick smile and his too tight suit, rushed over trying to hush me away, telling me, "Miss Mabel, you can't be here, this ain't the time." But I didn't even waste breath arguing. I didn't come to beg. I didn't come to make a scene. I came to show him what dignity looked like. I lifted my chin, brushed right past him like he wasn't even there, walked down that aisle like I built it with my bare hands, and in a way, sugar, I did. 'Cause that church, that moment, that celebration, none of it would be happening if it weren't for the years I spent keeping this family together. I walked all the way up to that altar, stood right in front of Jessica and her new husband. The look on her face when she saw me, like she saw the ghost of her own roots staring back at her. I didn't need to say a word yet, 'cause my presence alone spoke louder than any speech they had planned. And for the first time in a long time they couldn't look away. They couldn't pretend I wasn't there, 'cause I stood there in the flesh, reminding them exactly who built the ground they was standing on. I stood there at that altar, sugar, looking Jessica dead in the eyes, not with anger, not with tears, but with the kind of calm that makes folks nervous. And I spoke, not just to her but loud enough for every single person in that church to hear. I said, "You see, baby, you might have forgot to put my name on that fancy invite, might have told folks your grandma ain't good enough to be part of your big day. But let me remind you of something you tried to erase. This wedding, this hall, this whole show you putting on, it's standing on the foundation your mama bought with money I bled for. You standing in a dress I helped pay for back when your mama couldn't afford milk. The land your daddy built his house on, that was my mama's land, passed down through my hands to yours. And you can try to scrub my name off them family pictures, but you can't erase the history that lives in your blood. And sugar, I didn't shout, I didn't scream. I said it slow, steady, like the truth don't need no decoration. And when I was done, I turned around, walked back down that aisle like the queen they forgot I was, left them all sitting in that fancy church holding their breath, and right before I pushed them doors open to leave, I heard that little gasp from Jessica as she dropped her pretty white bouquet on the floor. 'Cause in that moment, sugar, the weight of everything I said came crashing down on her like the ceiling they was standing under. And I walked out into the sun with my head high, knowing I didn't just take back my place, I took back my peace. Weeks went by after that wedding day, sugar, and I didn't hear a word from none of them. The phone stayed quiet, the mailbox empty, and honestly I was fine with that. I sat on my porch every evening, sipping my tea, rocking in my chair, watching the world go on like it always does. And there was a peace in that silence they never understood. But then one rainy afternoon, Charlene, my own daughter, came pulling up in her shiny car looking worn out and small, like the weight of her choices was finally sitting heavy on her shoulders. She knocked on my door with red eyes and trembling hands, and when I opened it she tried to smile like old times, but that smile couldn't cover up the cracks. She stammered, tried to find the right words, saying, "Mama, I'm sorry, I didn't mean for things to get this bad." And I just looked at her, sugar, didn't say much, didn't fuss, didn't slam no doors. I let the silence do the talking, 'cause some things can't be fixed with words. Some cracks stay in the wood no matter how much paint you slap on 'em. And she stood there in that doorway waiting on me to invite her in, but I didn't. Not right away, 'cause forgiveness, sugar, it ain't a light switch, it's a slow burn. And sometimes folks gotta sit with what they done before they can find their way back, and maybe one day she will, but that day wasn't today. And I let her leave with her apology hanging in the air like a song that ain't got no end. Sometimes, sugar, the deepest wounds ain't the ones you get from strangers. They come from the hands you once held, the faces you once kissed goodnight, the folks you sacrificed everything for thinking they'd always remember. But the truth is, sometimes them same hands will push you out when they think they don't need you no more. And if that ever happens to you, if you ever feel like you standing outside a door you built with your own two hands, let me tell you something from one old soul to another. You don't have to beg for a seat at no table you built. You don't have to lower yourself to fit into a world you helped create, 'cause you ain't got a word to remind folks you align. Sometimes you just gotta walk in quiet and let 'em feel your presence. Let 'em sit in the silence of what they lost when they forgot who you were. And sugar, if this story touched a part of your heart you've been hiding, if you ever been made to feel small in a room you helped paint, I want you to know you ain't alone. Tell me in the comments, share your truth, 'cause sometimes hearing somebody say "me too" is all we need to tan a little taller. And I thank you for sitting with me listening to this old heart talk. And if you know somebody who needs to hear this, share it with them, 'cause maybe they forgot who they are too. And sugar, I hope to see you back here next time, 'cause as long as I got breath I'll keep telling these truths, even if they make folks uncomfortable.